Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We have a story developing right now that is shaking the very foundations of Asian tennis. And quite frankly, it has sent shockwaves through the sporting capital of New Zealand. If you've been following the trajectory of women's tennis in the Pacific region, you know that Auckland is usually the place where veterans come to tune up and where newcomers come to get a taste of the big leagues. But something different happened this January. Something electric. Something that has left the local Auckland community, and indeed the entire tennis world, completely stunned. We are talking about Alexandra Eala, the Filipino tennis sensation. We have received reports, updates, and confirmed sightings from the training grounds in New Zealand that suggest we are no longer looking at a prospect. We are no longer looking at a junior champion trying to find her feet. The Alex Eala that was spotted training in Auckland, the Alex Eala that took to the hard courts of the ASB Classic this month, is a completely transformed athlete. The headline is simple, but the implications are massive. Auckland is shocked. The level of intensity, the physical transformation, and the sheer tactical brilliance displayed during her training block in New Zealand has redefined what we expect from her in 2026. This isn't just about hitting a few balls. This is about a statement. We're talking about a training regime that was spotted by insiders, fans, and analysts alike. A regime that signaled one thing. Alex Eala is gunning for the top. And the results? They speak for themselves. We are looking at a player who has just broken into the WTA Top 50 for the first time in history. We are looking at a player who stood toe-to-toe with Grand Slam legends and didn't blink. But before we get to the matches, we have to talk about the preparation. We have to talk about what was seen on those practice courts in Auckland. The buzz coming out of New Zealand is not just about her forehand or her backhand. It is about her presence. Witnesses who spotted her training reported a level of aggression and focus that we haven't seen before. The New Zealand update is this: Alex Eala has evolved. She arrived in Auckland not just to participate, but to dominate. The shock felt by the local crowd, many of whom are part of the massive Filipino community in New Zealand, was palpable. They went to see a young girl play. They ended up watching a warrior prepare for war. In this deep dive, we're going to unpack everything. We are going to analyze the specific training adjustments that were spotted. We are going to look at how this New Zealand training block catalyzed her run to the ASB Classic semifinals. We will discuss the historic doubles victory over Venus Williams, a moment that will go down in history, and we will break down exactly why the specific moment in time, this Auckland chapter, is the turning point of her entire career. You have to understand the context here. Coming off a gold medal at the SEA Games, the pressure was on, but instead of resting, Eala went to work. The footage and the reports of her training in New Zealand show a player who has physically matured, adding power to her serve and weight to her ground strokes. The shock is a realization by the tennis establishment that Eala is no longer a future project. She is a present danger. We are going to take you through the timeline from the moment she touched down in Auckland to the intense practice sessions that drew crowds even before the tournament started, to the explosive matches that followed. We will analyze the data, the rankings jump, and what this means for the rest of the 2026 season, including her campaign in Australia and her homecoming in Manila. So buckle up. If you thought you knew Alex Eala, think again. The player who was spotted training in New Zealand is a different beast entirely. This is a story of how a training block in Auckland stunned the locals, rallied a nation, and launched a new superstar into the top 50 of the world. This is a comprehensive breakdown of the Alexandra Eala phenomenon in New Zealand. Let's get into it. Let's transition now into the meat of this story. To truly understand why all of Auckland is shocked, we have to strip away the hype and look at the mechanics of what actually occurred. The title of this segment is Spotted Training, and that is the key. Usually, practice sessions are routine. Players hit cross-court, they hit down the line, they serve, they stretch, they leave. But the reports coming out of the ASB tennis arena during the practice week were different. Observers noted a distinct change in Eala's physicality. For years, the criticism, if you can call it that, was that while she had the lefty spin and the tactical IQ of a Rafa Nadal Academy graduate, she sometimes lacked the raw knockout power to blow opponents off the court on fast, hard courts. New Zealand changed that narrative. Those who watched her train in Auckland saw her drilling the 1-2 punch relentlessly. Big serve out wide, crushing forehand into the open court. This isn't junior tennis tactics. This is top-tier WTA aggressive baseliner strategy. The shock mentioned in our headlines refers to the speed at which she executed these drills. She wasn't just rallying. She was simulating match intensity against top-tier hitting partners. And it translated immediately. When the tournament began, we saw the fruits of that New Zealand training block instantly. Consider her run at the ASB Classic. This is a WTA 250 event, but the field was stacked. You had Grand Slam champions, you had veterans, you had rising stars. And here comes Alex Eala, fresh off the practice courts where she had been grinding in the New Zealand summer heat. Her match against Donna Vekic was the first indicator that the training had paid off. Vekic is a heavy hitter, a player who can dictate play. But Eala absorbed that pace. She used the court geometry beautifully. This is directly linked to the footwork drills she was spotted doing days prior. Rapid lateral movement, staying low, exploding out of the corners. The crowd in Auckland played a massive role, and this is part of the update we need to discuss. The atmosphere was described as electric, almost resembling a Davis Cup or Billie Jean King Cup tie. The Filipino community in Auckland turned out in droves. But it wasn't just blind support. They were reacting to the quality of tennis. They were shocked by her resilience. Down a set? No problem. The mental fortitude she displayed was forged in those grueling training sessions. Let's talk about the doubles match, because this is where the shock factor hit 100. Partnering with the young American Ivor-Jovic, Eala faced Venus Williams and Alina Svitolina. Just pause and think about that. Venus Williams is royalty. Svitolina is a powerhouse. On paper, the teenagers should have been intimidated. But remember the training. Eala had been spotted practicing her volleys, her net movement, her reflex work. And in that match, she didn't back down. They saved set points. They rallied. They won. That victory sent a message to the entire locker room. Alex Eala is not here for a participation trophy. She is here to take heads. The deep dive here requires us to look at the numbers. By reaching the semifinals in Auckland, Eala secured enough points to crack the top 50. Do you realize how difficult that is? The jump from top 100 to top 50 is the hardest leap in professional tennis. It requires consistency. It requires beating players ranked above you, and it requires physical durability. The Auckland training block was clearly designed to build that durability. She played long 3-set matches and backed them up the next day. That is a testament to her conditioning team and the work she put in during the off-season. Furthermore, we need to analyze the technical adjustments in her serve. In Auckland, we saw her utilizing the slice, serve out wide on the ad court much more effectively. Being a lefty, this is her greatest weapon. It pulls the opponent off the court, opening up the entire forehand side. During the training sessions leading up to the tournament, spotters noted she was hitting buckets of balls to that specific spot. It wasn't an accident. It was a calculated tactical shift that paid dividends against right-handed opponents like Magda Linette. Now, let's address the shock from the perspective of the media and the pundits in New Zealand. The local press, usually focused on the top seeds, suddenly had to pivot their coverage to Eala. She became the story of the tournament. Why? Because she represents the new guard. And seeing her train, seeing the professionalism, the team around her, Coach Joan Bosch and the rest, it became clear that this is a professional operation operating at the highest level. However, no deep dive is complete without looking at the challenges. After the high of Auckland, there was the Australian Open. The loss to Alicia Parks in the first round was a tough pill to swallow, especially after the Auckland success. But even in that loss, the Auckland form was visible. She fought back. She forced a decider. The training she did in New Zealand gave her the base to compete. Even if the result in Melbourne wasn't what she wanted, it is important to view the Auckland training block not just as preparation for one tournament, but as the foundation for the entire 2026 season. The latest update brings us to where she is now. Following that explosive start in New Zealand, she has taken that form and that training intensity to Manila for the Philippine Women's Open. But the DNA of her game right now, the aggression, the belief, the fitness, was crystallized in Auckland. That is why we are focusing so heavily on this location. New Zealand was the crucible. It was where the work was done in the shadows, spotted only by a few keen observers, before being revealed under the bright lights of the stadium. Critics might say it's just one semi-final, but they are missing the point. The point is the manner of the performance. The point is the quality of the striking. When you watch the practice footage, you see the ball popping off her racket with a different sound. That is the sound of a top 50 player. That is the sound of someone who has physically arrived. We also have a talk about the shock to her opponents. The scouting report on Eala used to be consistent, lefty, good grinder. That report is now obsolete. The updated report, thanks to her New Zealand evolution, reads, dangerous server, aggressive forehand, mentally elite. Players are now going to step onto the court against her with a different level of respect and fear. That psychological edge was earned on the practice courts of Auckland. So, when we see a headline like all of Auckland shocked, it is not hyperbole. It is a factual description of the reaction to a young player rapidly outgrowing her rising star label and becoming a legitimate contender. The training spotted in New Zealand was the evidence. The semi-final run was a verdict. Alex Eala has leveled up. As we begin to wrap up this extensive coverage, we have to look forward. We have analyzed the shock, we have dissected the training, and we have celebrated the results. But what does this New Zealand chapter actually mean for the future of Alexandra Eala and, indeed, for Asian tennis? The implications are profound. First and foremost, the points she harvested in Auckland have changed her schedule for the entire year. Being in the top 50 means direct entry into the biggest tournaments in the world. No more qualifying rounds at the French Open or Wimbledon. She is now in the main draw by right. This is a massive advantage. It allows her to plan her training blocks, just like the one in New Zealand, more strategically, without the frantic chase for points in lower-tier events. Secondly, the Auckland effect has solidified her fan base. The scenes we witnessed in New Zealand, the flags, the chanting, the packed stadiums, are going to be replicated all over the world. We are seeing the birth of a global icon. Just as Manny Pacquiao brought the Philippines to the boxing ring, Alex Eala is bringing the Philippines to the center court of the WTA Tour. The shock in Auckland was just the beginning of a global awakening to her talent. We must also consider the impact on her confidence. Tennis is a sport of razor-thin margins. Knowing that she can put in the work, as she did in those spotted training sessions, and see immediate results against top 20 and top 30 players gives her the belief that she belongs. When she faces a world number 1 or number 2 later this year, she will look back at her preparation in New Zealand and know that she has the tools to compete. But let's be realistic. The road ahead is not a straight line. There will be losses. There will be setbacks, like the early exit in Melbourne, but the foundation is there. The latest update is that she is currently back on home soil, competing in Manila, carrying the momentum from New Zealand. This homecoming is poetic. She went away. She trained in the fires of competition in Auckland. She shocked the world, and now she brings that experience back to her home fans. The legacy of this Auckland trip will be looked back upon as the moment the switch was flipped. Years from now, when we are hopefully talking about Eala lifting a Grand Slam trophy, we will point back to January 2026. We will say, remember the training in New Zealand? Remember when she broke the top 50? That was the start. So, to the fans in Auckland who witnessed it firsthand, you saw history in the making. To the fans watching around the world, stay tuned. The player we saw training in New Zealand is just getting started. The intensity is there. The skill is there. The heart is there. And for the rest of the WTA Tour, consider this your notice. The Alex Eala who landed in New Zealand is not the same player who left. She is stronger, faster, and more dangerous than ever before. The shock has worn off, and now the reality sets in. Alex Eala is a force to be reckoned with. We will continue to track every serve, every volley, and every training update as she progresses through the season. But for now, let the message be clear. Auckland was just the opening act. The main event is happening right now. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. It has been a pleasure breaking down this pivotal moment in tennis history with you. The rise of Alex Eala is a story we are all writing together, one match, one training session, one update at a time. Next step for you. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, I would suggest subscribing and turning on notifications right now. We are monitoring her performance in the Manila WTA 125 daily. And as soon as the next major training update or match result drops, we will be back with another comprehensive breakdown. Don't miss the next chapter of this incredible journey. This is your anchor, signing off. Stay sharp and keep your eye on the ball.